Sarah was 38 years old and had lived most of her adult life in River Hill, a small town where mornings smelled like fresh grass and evenings were quiet enough to hear crickets sing. From the outside, her life looked stable and complete. She had a husband, 2 children, and a modest house near the park where families gathered every weekend. People often said she was lucky, and for many years, she believed that too. She had been married to Daniel for 15 years. When they first married, their love felt simple and strong. Daniel used to bring her flowers for no reason. He cooked dinner on Sundays, humming softly in the kitchen while Sarah set the table. At night, he would look at her and say, "You are my love," as if the words were a promise that would never fade. Back then, Sarah felt seen, chosen, and safe. Then came the children. Noah was born first, gentle and thoughtful even as a baby. 2 years later, Emma arrived, bright and musical, filling the house with songs and laughter. Sarah's world slowly began to revolve around them. She stayed home, teaching them numbers, reading them stories, and learning their small habits by heart. The children became the center of her life, the reason she woke up every morning and kept going even on the hardest days. Daniel worked at the bank and often came home tired, but in those early years, he still found time for his family. They ate dinner together. On weekends, they walked by the lake, sharing ice cream and watching ducks glide across the water. Sarah truly believed their marriage was solid, built on years of shared effort and quiet love. But change rarely arrives all at once. It came slowly, almost invisibly. Daniel began staying late at work more often. At first, he said it was temporary. Just a busy time, he explained. Then dinners together became rare. His phone was always in his hand, but never ringing for her. When Sarah asked if something was wrong, he answered with short words. "I'm fine. Don't worry." Over time, his smiles disappeared. His eyes no longer searched for hers across the room. He was present in the house, but distant, like someone standing behind a wall Sarah could not see through. She started to feel invisible, like a quiet piece of furniture that no one noticed anymore. One evening, while putting away his coat, Sarah's fingers touched a folded piece of paper in his pocket. It was a hotel receipt from a city 2 hours away. Her heart tightened as her eyes scanned the words. 1 room, 2 names. And one of them was not Daniel's. It said, Mr. D. Taylor and Miss Clara. Sarah told herself she was staying for the children. Every morning, she woke up before sunrise, packed lunches, tied shoelaces, and brushed hair. Noah talked about birds he saw in the park. Emma sang softly while eating cereal. From the outside, their house in River Hill looked full of voices, movement, life. But inside Sarah, there was a growing silence that no one else seemed to hear. Daniel was still there, physically. He sat at the table, scrolled on his phone, nodded when the children spoke. But his mind was somewhere else. He no longer asked Sarah how her day was. He no longer noticed when she was tired. At night, they slept on the same bed, but miles apart. Sometimes Sarah lay awake, listening to his breathing, wondering when exactly they had become strangers living under the same roof. She tried to fix it quietly. She cooked his favorite meals again. She waited up for him, even when he came home late. She asked gentle questions. "Are you okay? Or is work still stressful?" But his answers were always short. "I'm fine. Just busy." Each word felt like a door closing. The loneliness did not come all at once. It came slowly, in small moments. Washing dishes alone while laughter from another house floated through the window. Sitting at the park bench watching other couples talk easily. Smiling at school events while feeling completely empty inside. Sarah began to wonder if something was wrong with her. Maybe she was asking for too much. Maybe this was just what long marriages became. Then one afternoon, life surprised her. At the local market, between shelves of fruit and bread, Sarah heard her name. She turned and saw Mark. Someone from her past, someone who knew her before she became only a wife and a mother. His smile was gentle, familiar. They spoke for a few minutes. Nothing dramatic. Just simple words. How have you been? And for the first time in a long time, Sarah didn't say, I'm fine. Mark didn't try to solve her problems. He didn't give advice. He just listened. He looked at her like she mattered. Like her words had weight. That feeling stayed with her long after they said goodbye. They met again, once a week, then sometimes twice. Always in public places. A cafe. A park bench. There was no touching, no promises. Only conversations. Warm, human conversations. Sarah laughed again. She felt awake. She felt seen. And that scared her. One evening, as she was putting her phone down on the table, Daniel picked it up without thinking. His eyes stopped on a message from Mark. Hope your day was a little lighter today. Daniel looked up slowly. Who is Mark? He asked. And in that moment, Sarah knew the quiet loneliness she had been carrying was about to become something much louder. The silence between Sarah and Daniel finally broke one evening after the children had gone to bed. The house was quiet, but the tension felt loud. Daniel stood near the kitchen counter, his jacket still on, while Sarah sat at the table with her hands folded, trying to keep them from shaking. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't accuse him. She simply asked slowly, Who is Clara? Daniel's face tightened. For a moment, Sarah thought he would finally tell the whole truth. Instead, he sighed and said, She's someone from work. You're overthinking this. The words felt heavy, not because they were loud, but because they were empty. Sarah looked at him and realized how far apart they had grown. This wasn't the man who once brought her flowers or stayed up late talking about dreams. This was a man protecting a wall of silence. She told him how lonely she had felt. How the dinners without him hurt. How the quiet nights felt longer than the years of their marriage. Daniel listened, but his eyes kept drifting away, as if he was already tired of the conversation. He admitted he had been distant, that work had taken over his life, that he hadn't noticed how much she was struggling. I didn't mean to hurt you, he said. But he still didn't explain the hotel, the receipt, or Clara. Sarah felt guilt rise in her chest. She thought about Mark. About the messages, the conversations, the way his simple kindness had filled a space she didn't even know was empty. Nothing physical had happened, but she knew emotions could cross lines too. She wondered if that made her just as wrong. She was still married. She still shared a home, a life, and children with Daniel. And yet, her heart felt unbalanced, pulled in different directions. The next morning, Noah asked her quietly, Mom, are you sad? The question caught her off guard. Children noticed more than adults liked to believe. Emma hugged her leg and said, Daddy doesn't smile much anymore. Sarah swallowed hard, realizing that whatever was broken between her and Daniel was slowly reaching the children too. That afternoon, Sarah sat alone in the park, watching leaves fall from the trees. She asked herself a question she had been avoiding for months. Can love be rebuilt, or does it sometimes fade beyond repair? She thought about forgiveness, about responsibility, about staying for the children versus staying for herself. That night, lying beside Daniel in the same bed, she stared at the ceiling and felt nothing but confusion. She wasn't sure anymore if she loved him, or if she was simply afraid of letting go. And for the first time, that uncertainty felt more frightening than the truth itself. Sarah noticed the changes in Daniel before she wanted to believe them. He started coming home earlier, not just once or twice, but almost every evening. He put his phone on the table, screen facing up. He asked about the children's day, really listened to their stories, laughed at Noah's jokes, sat patiently while Emma practiced the same song again and again. He helped with dishes, folded laundry, even made tea for Sarah without being asked. On the surface, it looked like the man she had married years ago was slowly returning. But inside Sarah, something stayed broken. Every small kindness reminded her of how long she had waited for it. Trust, she realized, did not come back just because someone tried harder. It returned only when the heart felt safe again, and hers still flinched at silence. Some nights, When Daniel sat beside her on the sofa, she felt his closeness, but her body stayed stiff, as if it was protecting itself from another disappointment. One evening, after the children went to bed, Daniel spoke first. His voice was quiet, careful. "I know I hurt you," he said. "I wasn't there when you needed me. I don't expect forgiveness. I just want to be honest now." He did not raise his voice. He did not defend himself. For the first time in years, he looked smaller, less certain. Sarah listened without interrupting. She told him how lonely she had been, how invisible she felt, how even a stranger's attention had felt like air after years of holding her breath. She admitted her guilt, too. Not for talking to Mark, but for staying silent for so long, hoping pain would disappear on its own. There were no accusations, no shouting. Just two tired adults finally saying the things they were most afraid to say. That night, Sarah did not feel relief. She felt clarity. She understood that staying only for the children would teach them the wrong lesson. Leaving only out of fear would do the same. The real question was not what looked right from the outside, but what felt honest on the inside. Over the next days, she paid attention to her own heart instead of Daniel's efforts. She asked herself hard questions during quiet walks, during sleepless nights, during moments alone in the kitchen. Was she staying because she still loved him, or because comfort felt safer than change? Was peace something she could rebuild here, or something she needed to find on her own? The answer did not come loudly. It came softly, like a steady breath. Sarah realized that whatever she chose next had to come from truth, not habit, not fear, not guilt. And for the first time in a long while, she felt calm. Not happy yet, not sure yet, but honest. Healing did not arrive suddenly for Sarah. It came quietly, in small moments she almost didn't notice. It began with a notebook she bought one afternoon after dropping the children at school. Every night, when the house finally grew still, she wrote. Not pretty sentences. Not hopeful promises. Just the truth. Some nights she wrote, "I am still hurt." Other nights, "Today I smiled without forcing it." Writing did not erase the pain, but it gave her a place to put it down. She also began to care for herself in ways she had forgotten. Morning walks before the children woke up. Tea by the window instead of rushing to clean. Music playing softly while folding laundry. These were small acts, but they reminded her that she existed beyond being a wife and a mother. That her feelings mattered. Daniel, for his part, did not demand forgiveness. He did not rush her healing. He learned to listen, really listen, without defending himself, without explaining away the past. Some evenings they talked calmly about their fears, their failures, and the years they lost in silence. Other evenings, they said very little. But the silence was no longer sharp. It was honest. There were days Sarah felt close to him again, and days she felt distant. She allowed both to exist. Forgiveness, she learned, was not a single decision. It was a process. And forgiveness did not always mean forgetting. It meant choosing not to let the past control every breath of the present. Most importantly, Sarah stopped staying out of fear. She told herself that whether she remained in the marriage or chose another path, it would be because she wanted peace, not because she was afraid of change, judgment, or loneliness. That truth gave her strength. One evening, as she watched Noah read quietly and Emma hum a song to herself, Sarah felt something steady inside her. Not excitement, not certainty, but calm. She realized that love was not just about staying in the same house. Love was about showing up, truthfully, every day. For herself. For her children. And, if possible, for her partner. Her story did not end with a perfect answer. It ended with something more real, quiet strength. The kind that comes from honesty, from self-respect, and from choosing awareness over comfort. Core message. Love is not just staying. Love is choosing each other every day, honestly. And if this story made you reflect on marriage, forgiveness, or your own quiet strength, feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay with us for more emotional English stories that help you learn through real life and real feelings.